So I found an otter and it's teaching me languages. You do not need more context than that.
Have you ever wondered, wow, I love languages so much. If
Me
only
too.
there were a good career that I could pursue related to it. Well,
Career.
I had these exact thoughts in high school. I love languages and linguistics so much to the point that I desperately scavenged the internet for any careers that revolved around language. Unsurprisingly, it seemed as if there weren't really many options for me. But after a lot of research, I finally was able to find a few careers that are related to linguistics.
Oh, to linguistics, okay, because for a moment I'm like, careers related to languages. Yeah, linguistics I can understand. Yeah, you can teach linguistics, I guess. What other career specifically with linguistics? Researcher, perhaps? What else?
Now that I've graduated with a linguistics degree, I'm here making this video in order to hopefully inform other language lovers about the careers that they can pursue.
Okay.
With this video, hopefully I can ease your anxiety about being unemployed after graduation. Before
Yeah.
I begin, I really want to thank all of you for subscribing and watching my content.
Cool,
We're
cool,
at
cool.
70,000 subscribers, which is insane. I never thought people would actually enjoy my rambling about my passion for languages. I'd like to give a special shout out to Pengo, my first Patreon supporter ever. Anyways, thank you once again for being here, and let's get back to the video. Okay.
This guy sounds really nice. How many subs does he have now? 148,000, because this was from a year ago. Congratulations, man.
So the first career that we have is probably the most obvious one. It's becoming a linguistics professor.
Of course.
Now, when you think of a linguistics professor, you probably think of someone teaching a class, but that's not all a professor does, especially if they work at a research university. At a research university, the main objective of a linguistics professor is to contribute to the field by conducting research in the various subfields of linguistics. For example, I'm a research assistant for a linguistics professor who studies a specific variety of the Mixtec language, which is an indigenous language spoken in Oaxaca, Mexico. More specifically, he focuses on the phonetics of the language. This is just one example of linguistics research, but there are many other types of studies as well. From the perspective of a student, it doesn't appear that professors have much work to do, as they only interact with them in regards to classes. But in actuality, these professors are constantly working on their research,
Yeah, of course, it kind of depends on which professor and what field.
along with applying for grants to fund their research. Alright, now that we know what being a linguistics professor entails, how do you become one? Well, it's not easy, I can tell you that much. First, you'll need a bachelor's degree with a major in linguistics, which takes on average around 4 years. While doing the bachelor's degree, you should become a research assistant with a professor so you get experience. Then, you'll need to apply for graduate school, preferably one that does research in the field you're interested in. Finally, you will be graduating with a PhD, which takes around 5 years, give or take. Now, after all that work, surely you'll be making some bank, right? Well, the average salary of a linguistics professor is pretty good, but for the near decade of academic work, it's a bit on the low side.
I mean, to be fair, I still think it's a wonderful career to try and pursue, but it is unbelievable that we'll live in a world where all of that work and study is most likely gonna net a lot less than some Twitch streamers that scream at the screen. I say as a streamer. I mean, do it. I'm not trying to discourage you, but maybe do a side hustle on Twitch or YouTube or something, because you never know.
Example, let's take a look at how much linguistics professors make at a public university like UCLA. The salaries I'll be displaying here are real salaries that are earned by linguistics professors.
I'm actually curious to see if they make more than me. I'm really curious. I'm going to check it. I honestly, genuinely hope they do. I think it would be right.
First, we have an assistant professor that has just been recently hired. This person earns around $89,500 per year. Pretty good for being a new hire, but remember that this person probably went through a near decade of schooling. You can earn a similar amount with just a bachelor's and some engineering careers. Okay, but what is the highest they can earn? Well,
it's also a matter of like engineers, I think, are more requested. Like it's a matter of like demand in terms of career applications, but yeah.
A professor by the name of Bruce Hayes has been a linguistics professor for a really long time. On top of this, he has contributed a great amount of research to the university, along with publishing various textbooks. Due to this, he earns around $276,517 every year. Keep in mind that he's an outlier though. The vast majority make a low six-figure salary. Now, even if this salary seems good to you, don't get your hopes up just yet, because becoming a professor after graduating is not a guarantee. If you aren't able to find a job as a professor, you might have to settle as a lecturer, who are individuals who mainly just teach classes, but do not contribute to any major research. A lecturer at UCLA makes around $59,532 per year starting out, which is a big oof considering the amount of schooling required. Okay, so who should become a linguist?
Particularly if you live in America, because I mean everything is perspective based, right? Because not every country has the same costs of living. But I'm gonna say it, 59,000 in America is not enough.
Linguistics professor. If you're the type of person who can't see themselves doing anything besides research in linguistics, then this is the career for you. If all the things that I said didn't scare you away, then this could be the right fit. Ask yourself this question. If I were to get this PhD in linguistics and end up working at McDonald's afterwards, would I regret it? If you say no, then go ahead and get a PhD. With that kind of determination.
Yeah, bro, but you shouldn't get a PhD and work at McDonald's. With all due respect to anyone who works at McDonald's, because I do order from McDonald's, and if it wasn't for the people that actually chose that job, I couldn't get my cheeseburger fixed. So, I do prefer Wendy's though. With that being said, you shouldn't have a PhD and work at McDonald's. Like, that's a effed up society. It's just wrong. It is what it is. I mean, at this point, I would rather we had schooling for how to be an excellent, right, server. Like, you have a degree on how to fry fries at this point. It's because it's a PhD in linguistics and up in there, it's just wrong.
I'm sure you'll make it. Now, if research doesn't interest you, there are so many other careers that you can do as well. One major one that you may have heard about is computational linguistics. This field is a mix between computer science and linguistics, so if you're really
I didn't know about that, and that sounds amazing.
into computers, you might like this career. But what do computational linguists do exactly? Generally, computational linguistics is all about getting computer systems to understand and interpret human language. To be more specific, here are some examples of what computational linguists might do. There's
I wonder if it has to do with the advanced language models up to a certain extent.
machine translation, which is where you work to build an AI that translates between
Yeah, it
languages.
is.
An example of this is Google Translate.
Google Translate used to be awful up to a few years ago. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, it is excellent. I still prefer the other types of AI when it comes to help with translation, because they have becoming their excellent. You can hate AI all you want, and I understand that, I am against certain aspects of AI, but I will say when it comes to translation, it's excellent. Excellent. Like Gemini AI, ChatGPT, Claude AI, they're really good. I tested it and tested it and tested it. The translation features are really, really good, and they are fast. I hate saying that because, of course, this means it's going to be a problem for full-on human translators. When a tool works itself, it's problematic because corporations will always choose the tool over the human being.
There's also chatbots where you might work on these annoying automated customer service assistants that force you to say representative 30 times before it gives up and sends you to a real person. Another aspect computational linguists may work on is knowledge extraction. This is where a software will extract a large amount of text data and audio data and quickly gather information about it. Last but not least, there are voice assistants like Siri or Alexa, which you may work on as comp linguists. There are many
I kind of like Siri and Alexa, yeah. I mean, I hate Alexa when we're not calling her and she just starts talking. That annoys me, also because it makes me feel like, surveillance state and whatnot. But anyways, the Siri is good for language practice as well. And I managed to do that a little bit with, I think it was ChatGPT. I don't know if it was the paid for module, but the one that allows you, when I tell it, "Hey, let's just have a conversation in French. Let's just have a conversation in Mandarin. Let's talk some Japanese." And they talk back and they understand spoken language. It's actually good for people who don't have access to real human interaction, because at the end of the day, interaction, which is a form of communication, is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to improve linguistically in any language you're trying to learn. Now, given linguists oftentimes know so well the mechanics of language that they haven't really spent time learning how to speak those languages. It's not always the case, but it oftentimes happens that you speak to a linguist, they can explain every single bit of why mechanically. And even when it comes to the mouth positions and the organs involved, they tell you everything. They know all the fancy words, which is great. I'm not making fun of them, but they are actually not able to use to do it. It's not always the case. I know a few linguists that are proficient in at least a couple of languages, but there are some that are not, because it's not necessarily a requirement. It's not a requirement.
other things that they can do as well, but these are some of the interesting ones I found. So what do you need in order to have this type of career? Well, first off, you'll need at least a bachelor's degree.
Okay, so he's going to move into that. Let's see, does he talk about money as well? Money? Yeah, it is. So let's see.
Especially accounting for the fact that you can get a job with just a bachelor's degree. According to Glassdoor, the typical range is $94,000 to $169,000, with the median being $125,000. In addition to the base pay, you might also get compensation in the form of company stocks, which
Yeah, so I'm going to say, again, I know these numbers look enormous if you are from, for instance, Italy or, I don't know, Brazil, But once again, in the US, it kind of depends. Of course, anything above $100,000 is a really good salary. But if you go below $100,000 and you're trying to live in the US, and maybe you have to pay student debt, and you have got other credit cards debts, and then you need to pay for insurance, and everything is so expensive. It's, believe it or not, what I would suggest is, if you are on the lower end here, also stream.
Many tech companies tend to do. To get some real-world examples, let's take a look at some current job openings.
Let's see the next one. Let's see
the next career I want to talk about. Speech-language pathology is a career that many people surprisingly don't know about, yet almost every elementary school has one. Well, that is if they're able to find a speech pathologist. So what does an SLP do exactly? SLP. Basically, they conduct therapy sessions with individuals to help them with any speech, language, or voice disorders. To give you
I wonder if they're, so basically they're the ones that, for instance, will work with people who have a tongue tie, I imagine, among other things.
Some actual examples, let me explain the various different settings that an SLP might work in. We should probably start with the biggest one, which is education. According to a 2019 survey conducted by the American Speech Language Hearing Association, around 51% of SLPs work in a school setting, excluding universities and colleges. If you have ever had speech issues as a child, you probably already know what SLPs do. They help children who are behind in their speech or language compared to other children around the same age. For example, a speech pathologist may help a child who is having issues pronouncing the letter R or S. These would be called speech disorders, as these are disorders that are affecting the actual production of sounds the child is making. The SLP can also aid children with language disorders. Unlike speech disorders, which only affect a person's ability to pronounce words, language disorders actually affect the ability to process language within the brain. These children might not have issues with pronunciation, but they lag behind other children their age when it comes to interpreting words or using correct grammar. These are the
so we're very grateful actually for people who choose these kind of careers, also because I believe you have to be a very selfless individual who loves helping others. So I think it's a personality matter as well. So of course there is an interesting aspect of it, which is purely theoretical, but then due to the fact that the practice is so connected with helping others, I think it's very beautiful. Forensic linguist. Okay, let's check that one out and then I'll stop, because as you know, when I do these reacts, I don't react to the entire video in order to push people to go click the link in the description or the pinned comment to actually give the view to the creator himself.
Did you know about forensic linguistics? In this field, individuals work on understanding the language of written law, they analyze linguistical evidence, and other linguistic practices relating to law enforcement. If you ever watched the show Cops or any US cop movie, you probably have heard the statement, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you, blah, blah, blah." This statement always has to be said to individuals who are detained after the famous case of Ernesto Miranda. Forensic linguists aided in creating...
It's called the Miranda rights. That's what they call it, when they read you all the thing and then you say you're okay speaking to them without the presence of an attorney.
A clear statement that would ensure that individuals understood their rights, leading to the distinction between coercive and voluntary interrogations. On top of aiding in the language of law, forensic linguists also may analyze the language of suspects either from voice notes, texts, emails, etc. to aid in an investigation. Sounds pretty cool, right? But how do you become one? Well, you'll need a bachelor's degree in linguistics, then you'll need a master's degree in forensic linguistics. You might also want a PhD if you want some more credibility. The path for this career isn't really straightforward, as there aren't really any set requirements for being a forensic linguist. Unlike a speech pathologist who requires a license, many forensic linguists will have their own business where they work as a freelancer, aiding wherever they are needed. Because of this, there isn't really like a good gauge of median salary. So according to the pay scale, the median salary is $69,000, but I'm pretty sure the sample size is way too small, so don't really rely on this number at all. Another career that is a bit similar to forensic linguistics is military linguistics. In this field, you'll serve the military and become a specialist in other languages, helping to decode messages and whatnot. To get into this field, you of course need to enlist in the military and have at least a high school diploma. To be considered as a candidate for a linguistics career, you need to take and pass a test called the Defense Language Aptitude Battery, which is an exam that assesses how good you are at learning languages. If you pass, you'll be sent to a special school called the Defense Language Institute Foreign Language Center in Monterey, California. At this...
Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Like if you graduate and can pronounce the name of the school correctly, you will be admitted. Anyways, pretty cool video. I enjoyed it. So you find a link in the description. Thank you very much, Otter, for telling us all of these things, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching and joining Metatron's Academy. Have a good one.